Have you ever wondered how a continent rich with diverse cultures and over 1,000 languages ended up being divided into just over 50 countries? Welcome to the intriguing tale of the partition of Africa, an event that etched indelible lines on the map of the world's second-largest continent. Our journey begins in the late 15th century, when the Portuguese, lured by the tales of abundant gold, first ventured along the West African coast. This marked the beginning of European interest in Africa. However, the full-scale scramble for the continent would not begin for another 4 centuries. Fast forward to the 19th century, an era of rapid industrialization in Europe. With the Industrial Revolution came a surging demand for raw materials, and Africa, rich in resources, became a prime target. Furthermore, the abolition of the slave trade had left European powers seeking new forms of economic exploitation. By the mid-19th century, explorers, missionaries, and traders had begun to penetrate the African interior. The most notable among them was David Livingstone, whose tales of the vast African landscapes lured Europeans to the continent like bees to honey. In the 1880s, the scramble for Africa reached its zenith. It was during this period that the Berlin Conference took place. 14 European nations convened in Berlin to draw up the rules for the partition. No African ruler was invited. The conference resulted in a hasty carve-up of the continent, often with little regard for the ethnic and cultural divisions that had existed for centuries. Post-Berlin Conference, the European powers moved swiftly. By the turn of the 20th century, Africa was almost entirely under European control. The partition brought about significant changes, not all of them beneficial. While it led to the introduction of modern institutions and infrastructure, it also resulted in the exploitation of Africa's resources and people, the effects of which are still felt today. The partition of Africa was a historical event of epic proportions. It began with Portuguese exploration in the late 15th century, accelerated with the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, and culminated in the Berlin Conference in the 1880s. The result was a continent divided along arbitrary lines, leading to a mix of progress and exploitation. In summary, the partition of Africa was a complex process driven by European economic interests and political ambitions. It began with early exploration, was accelerated by industrialization, and culminated in the Berlin Conference. The aftermath saw the transformation of Africa's landscape, the introduction of modern institutions, but also the widespread exploitation of its resources and people. This tale of the partition serves as a reminder of a pivotal time in our global history, a time that shaped the Africa we know today. It is a story of exploration, ambition, and division, a story that continues to resonate in the present day. And so, the next time you gaze at a map of Africa, remember the journey that led to its creation. Remember the partition of Africa.